This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. We are finally at the point where we're going to see the Browns get in uniform and play some football. No, it does not count towards the larger win-loss record, but it is real football, kind of, being played. I'm excited about this. I hope you guys are excited about this. I talked about it on a video for Friday, what I want to see in the preseason overall, but let's narrow this down to specifically what do I want to see in this game? What do I hope to see in this game specifically? Let's start with the quarterbacks. We're going to see Deshaun Watson start, and then Shedeur Sanders is going to play in the third quarter. Maybe we see Dylan Gabriel. I don't think we're going to see Taylor Green. I'd be very surprised if we're going to see Taylor Green. By the way, the reason I don't think we're going to see much of Taylor Green even in the preseason is because I think the Browns' plan is to keep him on the 53 after initial cutdowns and then try to sneak him on to the practice squad. And in order to sneak him on to the practice squad, you don't really want to put too much tape out there for him. So I don't think he's going to play much in the preseason, especially since they're going to have the starters play so much in the preseason this year. One of the sacrifices you make about playing your starters a lot in the preseason means that, like, the third string guys, the fourth string guys, they're not going to see as much time. But the Browns, Todd Monken, have made it clear that he wants to play his starters a good chunk in the preseason. Todd Monken saying that he wants to get his guys at least a half of football, which is much more than we're used to in the first preseason game under Kevin Stefanski and most coaches, right? Most coaches, if they play their starters at all in week one of the preseason, you usually see about a drive or two. This is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a full half out the jump. I support this because the Browns haven't been tackling to the ground in practice. So I think they need the extra quarter of experience here in the first preseason game. Obviously, you hope nobody gets hurt, but hey, you got to prepare for football by playing football. And sometimes people get hurt while you play football. It's unavoidable. It's a very dangerous, very violent sport. But anyways, I've kind of strayed from the point, right? What do I want to see from the two quarterbacks that everybody's been talking about, Shedeur and Deshaun? Deshaun's going to play with the starters today. And what you want to see with Deshaun is confidence, right? I think that's the biggest thing that's been missing in Deshaun's game. If you could point to one thing, I think if Deshaun were being completely honest with you and he told you one thing that's been missing in his game, I think he would say confidence. It has not been there in the way that it used to be, right? He talked about this in his press conference the other day. Bill O'Brien said, trust his gut. He has to get used to that, right? There's been very few times, very seldom moments while Deshaun's been in Cleveland where he's played with a similar level of confidence that he used to have in Houston. It's been few and far between. I think you can point to a couple of games where that's happened. Oddly enough, the 2024 Raiders game is a game where he was very confident in the middle of a very inconfident, or in the middle of a season that was demonstrating a complete lack of confidence in itself. 2023, there were some games there. I think the Tennessee game, he had a lot of confidence and control. And I think the Baltimore game in the second half, a lot of confidence and control. You'll want to see that with Deshaun. What's that going to look like? Quick decisions being made when he does go downfield, no hesitation, just pulling the trigger and ripping. You'll want to see him just feel comfortable, play free, and rip the ball downfield. To Deshaun's credit, he's had a great couple of weeks of practice, right after a rough first week of practice. So let's see him continue on that trajectory. Let's see him be more confident. The other thing that you want to see with Deshaun, right, because this is supposed to be the big thing that separates him, is the veteran quarterback stuff. Now, what do I mean when I say the veteran quarterback stuff? This is getting the play call in, right? Not having confusion on the pre-snap at the line of scrimmage. Now, some of this is going to happen because you got a lot of moving parts on this offense, a lot of young guys. there's going to be some confusion that happens. It happens with every quarterback, right? But what you want to see are periods where the play call is getting in quickly. They're getting to the line of scrimmage, and they're getting to the line of scrimmage with a lot of time on that clock, right? You at least want 8 to 7 seconds. Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm watching a preseason game while I'm recording this. But you want at least 8 to 7 seconds, right, on that pre-snap clock. You want at least 7 seconds on that clock once you get to the line of scrimmage, everybody's set. Because I've talked about this in other seasons, but when you have an issue getting the play call in, getting everybody set to the line, getting the huddle broke early, all of those things, and then it leads to you having to snap the ball with 2-3 seconds on the clock, it puts your offense at such a disadvantage because it gives the defensive line an easier jump on the ball. And it also gives your quarterback much less time to evaluate the pre-snap picture to be able to make a post-snap decision. So that's going to be real important, right? When does he break the huddle? How many seconds are left when he breaks the huddle? Are they getting pre-snap penalties? Are these pre-snap penalties that you could tie to the quarterback, right? Do people feel like the process is genuinely fast and quick with Deshaun Watson? Obviously, we're going to break down the tape of Deshaun in this game after it airs and really figure out the nitty-gritty of the performance and whether he was playing in structure or not. All of that fun stuff will be done. But you just want to see the process be smooth. You don't want to feel like they're always rushing to get the ball off or that they're always having something go wrong with the communication in the huddle, unless there's like a legitimate problem, like the headsets are down or something like that. You just want to see that operation be smooth, or at least as smooth as possible as it could be. So confidence and smooth operation are what you want to see from Deshaun Watson, because remember, Deshaun Watson's argument to win the quarterback job is that he's a veteran quarterback, he's an experienced quarterback, and this is a new offense. So you're going to want somebody in there who's experienced, who has a veteran, who knows how to command the line of scrimmage, command the huddle, who's going to be very good at the procedural stuff. And then you want to see the execution with confidence out there, right? Because even if Deshaun's better at all that stuff, if he can't execute with confidence, it's not going to be an easy argument to make him the starter. So that's what he has to do, right? Now let's talk about Shedeur. Now, the argument for Shedeur is that he could play make, right? I think everybody's seen an example of Shedeur Sanders being able to play make. I think that's a big part to what he's able to do and a big part of his argument to start, right? Now, what Shedeur also has to do is fight back against arguments for him not to start. And the biggest arguments for him not to start are his struggles in playing in structure, pocket discipline, and it leading to bad field position in sacks, and operation, right? Those are the three things that people are wondering if Shedeur could do better, that he has to demonstrate during the preseason he can do better, right? We know he's going to make plays. I'm sure during this game he's going to make a nice throw. It's going to be a highlight. People are going to put it on Twitter, say he should start. But that's not necessarily what's deciding this competition for him. What's going to decide this competition for him is his operation, is his discipline in structure and discipline in the pocket. So you want to see Shedeur play in structure, play on time as much as possible, and really play a disciplined style football while also having a smooth operation, right? Because if he can do those things consistently, then it becomes really hard to make the argument for him to be on the bench, right? So if you're Shedeur and you want to start, that's what you have to address. You have to address the things that make people uncomfortable with you starting, or make the coaching staff uncomfortable with you starting, and they're worried about field position. They're worried about operation. They're worried about progression and playing in structure. They're worried about discipline in the pocket, right? All of those things, you got to address them. If you can show that you've made progress there, and not just progress, but legit leaps there to where you're good at some of this stuff, then the argument starts to fade away for you not to start, and the argument for you to start becomes much, much louder. But that's what you want to see from both of these quarterbacks today. I don't know if we're going to see Dylan Gabriel. I don't think we're going to see Taylor Green. I don't have any expectations for them, quite frankly. But that's what you want to see. Now let's move on to some other parts of this team that you want to see. Spencer Fano specifically, right? It's his first NFL experience out there at left tackle. Basically, for the first 6 times we're going to see Spencer Fano, 3 preseason games and his first 3 regular season games. The real thing for Spencer Fano is don't sink, right? Whatever you do, try not to sink because you're going to struggle. You're going to be underwater a little bit. You're going to have some things that you're going to have to figure out. It's your first game playing left tackle in 3 years, and you're doing it in the NFL. I expect there to be struggles early, right? I expect there to be some growing pains. The big thing with Spencer Fano is just don't let it get too low, right? Don't drown yourself, basically, with your struggles. Just get through them, right? Muscle through. So survive, basically. That's the goal for Spencer Fano for the preseason entirely, and then honestly for the first 3 weeks of the season, right? Just survive. It's going to be rough. Troy Fontanu was awful in the preseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and people were worried about it. And then he played in the regular season, and he was pretty good by week 2. So not going to take too much of what happens in the preseason too seriously. There's going to be struggles. He's going to be adjusting. He's got to get used to playing left tackle, and he's doing it in the NFL. Stuff's going to happen. But just don't get underwater. Don't let it bury you. Don't drown, right? That's what I want to see from Spencer Fano. The wide receivers, I talked about this in my other video. Just want to see those guys make plays so we can confirm what we already know. There's not much pressure on them. We're pretty excited with what we've seen so far, but those are kind of my thoughts on what should happen with some of the young guys, the quarterback conversation. There's more to talk about. We're going to get into that, but first I got to thank my sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 sports app. The app is really easy to use for player picks. Just pick more or less for a few player stats and lock in your lineup. That's it. Rather just pick teams. Well, PrizePicks has that now too. Just pick the winner, spread, or total in any game or fight. PrizePicks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Plus, you can even follow me on the app at Quinn_C and tell my picks with one click and follow your friends too. Speaking of my picks, here they are. Myles Garrett over 15.75 sacks. 16's been his baseline the last few years. I'd be very surprised if he goes to LA and that number drops, given that he's going to see more passing attempts, given that LA's offense is better than what the Browns have been. Quincy Judkins, 924 yards. They had 2 really good picks for Quincy here, 6 touchdowns or 924 yards. I feel comfortable taking more on both, but 1,000 yards feels like a safer bet for Quincy. I think he's going to have a big year this year. Carson Schlesinger, 2.25 sacks. I'm saying more. Remember, Mike Rutenberg likes to blitz his linebackers a lot more than the previous defensive coordinator the Cleveland Browns had. Also, Carson Schlesinger is probably going to have to get involved as a sack producer to make up for the hole that they're going to have to make up for Myles Garrett. And then Shedeur Sanders starting more than 7.5 games. I think he'll be the starter, play about 8 games or more this year, but that's my picks for this season. Best of all, play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. Just use the promo code HMA when you sign up. Again, that's your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win when you use the promo code HMA. PrizePicks has switched up their offer. There's no better time to join, lock in, and win that first lineup. One thing I'm also excited to see today is Jerry Jeudy. I know a lot of people have written Jerry Jeudy off, but I am willing, because he had that big season his first year in Cleveland, I do want to see what it looks like with Jerry Jeudy this year. And I'm interested to know, okay, can Jerry Jeudy have a bounce back? And more importantly, what is Jerry Jeudy going to look like in this year's offense? What are they going to ask him to do with Denzel Boston out there with the ones and Casey Concepcion? That's going to be interesting to me. I want to see Jerry Jeudy find his footing with this new supporting cast, because as much as people are making the argument that those guys existing is going to hurt Jerry Jeudy because it's going to naturally take targets away, it's going to take attention away from Jerry Jeudy, I think it can help him because it's going to take attention away from Jerry Jeudy. It's going to take targets away from Jerry Jeudy. And maybe less is more with Jerry Jeudy in the Cleveland Browns offense. Also, just in general, like, hey, how is Todd's passing attack going to change from Kevin? We know that Kevin was a very methodical dink-dunk kind of system, right? That's still what he's doing today. They're starting Tua Tagovailoa out there in Atlanta. We know what that offense is going to look like. How's Todd going to be different? Are they going to take more shots downfield? What's that diet of passes going to look like? What do they try to get going on first down with? So I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things to pay attention to when it comes to this game with the Cleveland Browns. I'm excited to watch this game. More importantly, I'm excited to watch this game with y'all. I'm going to be live during the game. So if you want to come, hang out, react to the game as it's happening with me on stream, make sure you guys subscribe, stay notified, and check in with me so we can watch this game together, because we're going to have a great time doing that. We got to get ready for the season too. You know what I mean? Preseason's not just for the players. But in all seriousness, I think there's a lot to look forward to, right? We've heard a lot of good things from the young players on this team in camp, and now it's our time to be able to confirm some of that stuff with our own eyes, right? Because camp, we're getting an obfuscated view, right? Even if we're at the practices, we're not getting the best angle on things. We're not getting tape of that practice, right? We're usually having to rely on secondhand accounts of what's going on there. It's tough to really figure out what's really going on. Now we get to confirm, okay, we've heard Casey Concepcion's been good. Let's see him in the preseason. We should be able to confirm that. Denzel Boston, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, Spencer Fano, Mason Graham. I want to see him show up in this preseason game. So a lot of that stuff that we hear, we get to confirm, right? All the noise about the quarterback competition, who's looking good, who's looking bad. Now we get to see it. Now we get to actually care about the stats that are being produced instead of like the Mickey Mouse quarterback stat practice tracker that they have, right? We don't have to rely on that. We can rely on tape, all 22. We can rely on actual gameplay. That's what I'm excited about. Let me know what you're excited about down in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.